What's up, guys? Today I'm gonna review the ForceUSA MyRack. I've had this in my garage gym for about 6 months, and so far I love it. There's a few things that I would tweak on it, and that's the goal of today's video. The pros and cons about the MyRack. I'm gonna tell you what I would do differently for it, any adjustments I would make, and is it worth it for your garage or home gym? Let's check it out. My name's Nakota. Welcome to Beyond Capability. So the first thing I want to talk about is the size of the rack. This thing is tiny. I'm 6'1", and I can reach the top of this thing. You can fit this thing in an apartment, in a basement. Now the footprint of it is 55 inches, but the actual interior is only 29 inches. And that's nothing compared to something like the Rogue RE4 rack. And that actually cuts down the space that you're in a lot, which personally I don't like. Well, it's just hard to get used to because as soon as you unrack that bar from your squat, you gotta step back into the perfect position so that way you're not touching the back bar or the front bar. So it's a little crammed in there, but once you get used to it, it's not that bad. Now this size can be a pro or a con. For me personally, I love the size of it because it can fit anywhere. But it's also a con for me because I would like much more room inside the cage. Now another pro for the MyRack is that it's modular. This means that there's a ton of attachments that you can get. You can get landmine attachments, you can get band peg attachments. There's so many that I couldn't possibly tell you how many or what they are. But that's awesome. The ability to put anything you want in multiple positions is a huge win for the rack. But it's also a huge con for the rack because for whatever reason, they decided to make all the holes, all the modular spots that you mount your attachments to, a lot of different sizes. So the band pegs, they're awesome. They work great. You slide them through the bottom posts in designated holes. But for some reason, they decided to cut it short of the outside holes, which really sucks because that means you can't use the band pegs for deadlifts inside the cage. Now, not only this, but you also can't put the band pegs through the top of the rack, that top bar, which is something that I would also like to do, for maybe a little assistance on my bench or what have you. And I know that I can still tie the band around that top post, but I have band pegs and there's holes up there. So why don't the band pegs fit through the hole? Now, speaking of attachments, a lot of the attachments I don't really understand. It seems like it was a great idea to make the attachments for the rack, and the fact that you can attach those things to the rack is awesome. But for some reason, I don't know if I'm just dumb or if these things only work a certain way, but a lot of the attachments aren't very versatile. The band pegs that I mentioned before, for some reason you can't move them all around the rack. I would love to be able to put my band pegs on the bottom, on the top, on the sides, everywhere, and just make a band spider web. I don't know why, but I'm sure I could use it for something if I was able to put the band pegs elsewhere. Another thing is the plate holders. The plate holders are awesome, but their placement sucks. So you can place them anywhere on the side of the rack. There's 6 holes that you can place the plate holders on each wall of the rack, and that's really cool because that gives you a lot of options. But it sucks because but what sucks is you're really limited to where you can actually place them. You just have to be really careful on where you place them. I've hit my 45s, my 35s, my 25s, every single plate I've tried to put on the side of the rack, I've hit it when I'm benching, squatting. In some way, it always gets in the way, and that's bad. I would love to see them make a separate attachment that you can buy for it that extends that rack out just a little bit more, like just a second layer to it, so that way I can put all my plate holders on that part and have my plates in front or behind on the rack. so that way it doesn't get in the way when I'm squatting, when I need to adjust my spotter arms. Another idea about the plate holders is, what if you could put them up top? Then you could use them as a neutral grip pull-up, which would be cool. So that's another thing that the modular system is fantastic for, but it's not all there on the ForceUSA MyRack. One last thing for the attachments is the J-cups. Now, I bought the standard J-cups fully aware of the fact that it might mess up your barbell, because they put in some stainless steel screws over some hard plastic to protect the metal, I guess, which isn't really necessary. I guess that plastic would help protect the barbell, but at the same time, the stainless steel screws pop out enough to where your barbell knurling does hit against it, and it just creates it just grinds down on the barbell. And so it actually has scratched my barbell all up, which I personally don't really mind, because I use this stuff daily and beat the crap out of it, and it's all old used weights. So it's not that huge of a deal for me, but why not just make one J-hook that doesn't do that? Next, I want to talk about how sturdy it is. This thing, I was really impressed with just bolting it together. I was a little skeptical. I've been through a lot of racks that just, you get in it and you're terrified. But this one's not like that. It actually feels really solid, where you shake this thing and you know it's not going anywhere. I've loaded 315 pounds on the front of the rack. I don't have it bolted down, and I had no other weight on there, and it held fine. It didn't feel like it was gonna tip over. So the balance on the rack is actually very, very good. Oh yeah, the band pegs. Okay, back to the band pegs. Let me grab one. So the band pegs are these little T-shaped pieces of metal, and you just slide this through the bottom holes on the rack, and then you attach your bands to it. But there's two things that I don't like about these. One of those things about the band pegs is that it doesn't have a lip like most racks have on their band pegs. So I've got down low enough on my bench press to where the band becomes loose and actually falls off this. And I thought about ways that I could fix it. And I mean, I could just turn it over, because this T right here would provide a perfect lip, but then there's nothing keeping it in over here. And ForceUSA uses something like this for their landmine attachment. It's just a shorter version, and it has the same hole. And they supply a cotter pin that goes through that hole and locks it in. So my thought was that the band pegs are supposed to come with these. I mean, it fits perfectly, and that would explain it. It just goes the opposite way and locks in with that cotter pin. So I reached out to ForceUSA to ask them, hey, I don't think I got cotter pins with my band pegs. They weren't in the package. And can you, is there any way I can get some? Well, they replied super fast, which is awesome. They have great customer service. But they said that the band pegs don't actually come with the cotter pins. I don't know why. I know what that hole is for. I'm assuming it's for their powder coating process. But why not utilize it? So I'm gonna try and track down these little cotter pins and find out where they come from and get some more, because then I can use my band pegs like that. But why wasn't that something that was done in the first place? A lot of racks have band pegs already attached to the rack, which I really like. So this modular system is kind of a cool idea, but I don't really know why they chose to do it this way. I might end up drilling some holes and cutting some things and seeing what I can change about it. So my final opinion on it is, yes, it's a great rack. I think it's a perfect rack for somebody in a very small space that just needs a rack and isn't a very advanced lifter. I think if you are more of an intermediate lifter and you're gonna bang on your rack and put a lot of weight on it, then you should probably save your money for something a little higher quality and a little bigger. I buy this rack again. Honestly, I'm glad I bought it, but I don't think if I were to go back, I would actually buy it. I think I would rather save up my money for a Rogue rack or something that's proven to last through time and something that has a little more versatile attachment wise. All in all, I'm really glad I bought the rack and I'm excited to try out their other products and see what more the rack can offer me. If you have a garage gym or a home gym and you're looking to buy a power rack, I hope that this helped make up your mind. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this video. If you liked my review, I would love to do more of these and show you guys new products and new things and give you my take on them. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share it with your friends. I'll see you next time.